Whoa, so we've just come off a 2-issue storyline featuring Dr. Octopus, then following up with the first appearance of Mysterio. Phew, things are really heating up in there, aren't they? Maybe it's time to take our foot off the accelerator for a bit. Green Goblin. Well, I guess not. First, let's have a look at this cover. Not only is old Greenie present, but so is another Greenie, the Hulk. What? And the Enforcers are back. Yeah, no one cares about them. So this is it, the origin of the villain that arguably put Spider-Man through the most heartache. Though Doc Ock being the one who killed Spidey might argue with that, but what does the pudding cup shaped like a man know? Anyway, we start this issue not with our man Peter Parker, but an unknown gentleman tinkering in his lab. You know he's a gentleman because they all wear suits and hats back then. What has the gentleman made? A mechanized broomstick. Obviously this dude is a Harry Potter fan. Expelliarmus! What do you mean I need a wand? No, really, you guys are the problem. But you see, these are the Enforcers. They've never seen Harry Potter. They're more into movies like The Godfather and Scarface and Barbie's Beach Adventure. So annoyed at the Force, Green Goblin pops out to make his own movie and finds a movie producer called BJ. And we get this scene to introduce him. You're right, BJ. Of course, BJ. Yes, BJ. I mean, come on. You can't tell me they didn't know what they were doing.
I mean, are they trying to rub it in?
More like rub one out. Ha! Huh? Huh? So legit, the Green Goblin wants BJ to make a movie and that he'll get Spider-Man as the main star. BJ, joke's old, is totally into it and goes, okay, so seriously, remember when last issue Mysterio just turned up and he was all like, hey Spidey, meet me on the Brooklyn Bridge so I can punch you in the face. Yeah, well, this Goblin dude isn't so straightforward, which we'll see later. Now I don't mean that in his plans a convoluted and genius way, more just like, dude, why not just invite Spider-Man to a bridge and punch him in the face rather than all the shenanigans going on right now? But we have bigger issues. Like, seriously, have you seen the size of those eyelashes? Woo!
Wow, I'm so jealous. I wish I had eyelashes that long.
Meanwhile, Liz Allen is cracking onto Pete and Flash is jealous again. But just look at how long those eyelashes really are. Okay, now, where were we?
Pete's school with Liz Allen.
Right, ignore that. Reports of a Green Goblin man on a broomstick comes over the radio and Pete's like, let's go check this out. Potter fans, ho! And catches up with the Goblin to ask him about his broomstick and of course his amazing eyelashes.
Seriously, I would kill for those eyelashes. Like, kill.
The Goblin tells Spidey that he's got a movie deal signed and lets him know where to meet. Because, you know, they want to meet the guy with the name.
Oh, BJ?
Yeah, him. But Pete organises with J. Jonah Jameson to go to Hollywood, take photographs of the movie shoot. As usual, giving him an excuse to be there. And Betty gets all jealous again, thinking he'll be hanging out with all the Hollywood hotties.
She's such a drag.
Yeah, she really goes to worst case scenario, doesn't she? Maybe if she had the Goblin's lashes, she would be a little bit more self-confident. Also, look at this charming smile. No wonder the girls are falling for him. The man's a dreamboat. So Spider-Man flies to Hollywood and they travel out to the desert to shoot a scene.
Oh, hey, those actors look conveniently like the Enforcers that were also in the first part of this very issue. How convenient.
Wait, I thought we agreed I was the sarcastic one. But yes, the Enforcers are pretending to be actors. So the actors start to pretend to fight. But obviously, the Enforcers aren't pretending and not even trying to pretend. And not even trying, Spidey dodges and weaves, but caught unawares, gets slugged a few times. The Goblin enters the fray, launching grenades. The Enforcers surround him and he's lassoed but breaks free. They jump on him, holding him down, but Spider-Man is too strong and forces all of them to disappear into the dust. Finding a cave, the Goblin and the Enforcers follow him in, sealing the entrance as was their backup plan. Spidey starts picking them off one by one and only the Goblin is really causing him any drama. But what's this? Who else likes to hide in caves from those puny humans?
Puny? You mean
Yep, the Hulk turns up and he don't care about anybody else's crap. He just wants them gone, so in a fit of rage he charges, knocking down stalagmites while the Goblin flees.
coward? They should call him the Yellow Goblin.
Ha! Nice one. Spidey grabs the Goblin by the broomstick, but is knocked off into a small pondish thing. The Goblin escapes as the Hulk ambles off to find a new cave. Spidey returns to New York and actually manages to make money off of a BJ. Hey, it's true. Look, I may have said it, but I didn't write the scene. BJ gave him money. A man named BJ gave him money. How you interpreted that previous sentence is all about your dirty mind. Anyways, the Goblin identity is still a mystery. Mysterious eyelashes and all. The identity of the Green Goblin not being shown interests me. Like, did they know who it was going to be? Like, Harry Osborn wasn't even a thing back then. But more likely, it's one of those things where it's just, let's just hold on to this mystery until we've got something good we can do for it. Oh, hey Harry, what's your father do for a crust? Part of me wonders though if it was meant to be Jameson or insinuated to be Jameson as another red herring, a la the big man, if you even remember him. Foswell! But there was always something about the Green Goblin. Like, the issue is a fine issue, but it's not outstanding. And maybe it is the identity thing, but there is definitely something foreboding that this villain is going to be one of Spidey's biggest foes from the get-go. So back in the day, I'm guessing maybe the 90s, they used to have these Spider-Man 4-in-1 books. There'd be one book from the 60s, one from the 70s, and a two-parter from the 80s. Though I honestly can't remember what it was called. But man, for a young person who had just discovered comic books, it was a great way to introduce you to the vastness and history of Spider-Man before there was the internet. I didn't realise at the time how old some of the stories were, but I think it's a big part why, despite all the jokes I make over how corny the early era is, that I can go and read that era without cringing too much. The reason I bring this up is because the first one of these 4-in-1s that I had started with Amazing Spider-Man 17. Even if at the time I didn't know it was Amazing Spider-Man 17, I don't know. Maybe it said somewhere, but I was small and stupid.
You're still small and stupid.
Hey.
Yes?
Shut up. Anyways, I could almost write this whole summary without reading it, and it's a fine issue, and Green Goblin gets his second appearance, although when I first read it, it definitely felt like he was a much bigger villain and one that harassed Spider-Man on numerous occasions already, especially as it starts with Spidey thinking about what happened to the Goblin since their last fight. This is also the single issue where I learned to really hate the evil overlord Aunt May. If you've watched my previous videos, you know there's a low-level hatred I have for that woman.
Low level? How about we try irrational?
You hate Betty Brant. Don't you try and point fingers at me. Anyway, we're going to come across that reason within the story, so let's get to it rather than dick around any further. So as I said, Pete's in school, reflecting on his last fight with the Green Goblin, while Flash is announcing he has big news. He's organising a Spider-Man fan club and there's going to be a big chapter meeting and Pete's not allowed. But Liz Allen is totally like, oh my god, girlfriend, I'm totally getting him in. Across town, the Goblin is equally thinking about Spider-Man and tearing into a spider test dummy with his new weapons, including a new Goblin glider.
Thank God. Other than the Harry Potter jokes, the broomstick was so passé.
And what's this? Is that the first pumpkin bomb we see? So the Goblin is definitely coming into his own this issue, but the mystery behind who he is still remains.
Oh, why must they do this to me? Is it Jameson? I bet it's Jameson.
It's not Jameson. You're just saying that because he's the only other one you see who normally wears a suit. But Pete's on his way home and stops a burglary, as he has done so many times before. But oh no! What's this? It's not burglars, but a film being shot, and he's ruined the shot. The director yells at him because, like always, nothing works out for Pete. He heads to the Bugle to walk Betty home and finds Jameson already laughing over Spider-Man's bungled news. He's walking Betty home, and who should he run into but Liz Allen and Flash reading the paper where they've put in an ad for the Spider-Man fan club. Pete tries to bail, but it's too late. Liz opens with, "Hey, Miss Brand, aren't you putting on a little bit of weight?"
Oh, savage.
Yeah, she opens with a direct assault. And it's a double blow because Betty sits there thinking how she hates being called Miss Brand because it makes her feel old. While on the same panel, Flash fires with "Big deal, Parker can read." Seriously, there's so much going on with this quadruplet of teams that any action pales in comparison. But the paper ad reveals that Spider-Man will be at the first fan club meeting, and Pete's like, "Oh, Flash is such a big dumb jerk, but his love for Spidey, so good and pure, so you know what? He'll turn up." Pete's spider sense goes off and we see a man in a suit pass by, reading the paper about the fan club meeting. Pete jumps into his spider jammies to try and find out who triggered his spider sense and finds him following a man in a suit, but can't do anything because the man is just walking down the street, you know. Just about to leave, the man pulls a gun and starts running, but the Human Torch turns up to save the day, then stops to give out autographs. Back at home, evil overlord Aunt May is still trying to set up Pete with this Mary Jane girl, despite him having a girlfriend. And no, I know I went on how diabolical that old bat is in the last issue about setting Pete up even though he's going out with Betty. But that's not the reason I hate her. It's a reason and definitely adds up, but we'll get to that later. So we cut to the fan club meeting and Spidey is up top waiting for his entrance cue, and inside, Liz, Betty and JJJ are all waiting for Pete to arrive while the Goblin is waiting in the wings. Spidey enters. His web snaps by a frog device. Spidey still lands it because he's awesome. The crowd applauses, but Johnny Storm is in the crowd and he knows that this was not an accident. He was right. The Green Goblin shows up. He attacks. Spidey dodges, making it look like all part of the show. The Goblin shoots lasers. There's a bat that layers him in a thick black foam which holds Spidey long enough for a pumpkin bomb, but Spidey manages to escape. But attack after attack, our Spidey is just too quick and the Goblin is getting frustrated. Knowing that this isn't an act, the Human Torch enters the fray but gets in the way just as Spidey is about to get on the front foot.
Boo.
Anyways, Pete uses the Torch's distraction to get dressed as himself and make an appearance to pretend he is not Spider-Man.
Is that very responsible? And how does he get dressed so quick?
No, it's not responsible, especially as he simply could have said that he just didn't want to go for the night. And as for the dressing thing, it's a comic book thing. You're just going to have to get used to it. But it's worst case scenario. Pete comes across Liz, but doesn't see Betty. So she's all like, "Wah!"
Suck it, Betty.
But up top, the Goblin hits the torch with an anti-oxygen agent and his flame is going out, so Pete doesn't have time to play around and needs to get dressed back as Spider-Man. Spidey enters the fray once again as the crowd begin to realise this is no act. The Goblin catches Spidey off guard, his glider way more manoeuvrable than his broomstick, and he gives Spidey a massive uppercut. Spidey rolls with the blow and falls back near a man on the phone, and he overhears someone looking for Peter Parker to tell him that the evil overlord Aunt May has suffered another heart attack, hallelujah, and is in the hospital. Spider-Man bails, and his name is Mud. Jameson laps it up, and here we have it, the single most reason why I hate Aunt May. It's not because of anything she has done particularly in the actual comics. And I said this in my very first Spider-Man video. It's because she is the worst plot crutch in storytelling history. Like, I'm not dissing Pete for being concerned about evil Overlord May. I mean, she's his only family, I get it. But are you telling me Spider-Man would leave a villain with a crowd full of people even if the torch is there? No. See, why I hate her is because all the issues surrounding evil Overlord May normally involve bad storytelling elements to get a desired result for Pete, whether it's to lose face or to make crappy decisions. So yeah, I have this inner bitter hatred because she ruins so many stories. Also, like, how many ailments does this lady have? Just hurry up and die already. Seriously, someone with her bad health, I can't believe she lasted 400 issues while Uncle Ben dies every other week.
Are you done?
Yeah, I guess. I just wanted the people to know why my hatred isn't completely irrational. Like, there's 1% normal rationality there.
It's debatable.
Well, moving on. The Goblin returns and is already proven to be one of Spider-Man's most persistent and mysterious foes, while in issue 24, what makes Spider-Man go mad, and who is the mystery villain behind it all? Let's find out. Issue 23. The Green Goblin is back and he's still got amazing eyelashes, but he's also trying to move in on Lucky Lobo's mob in his first step in taking over the criminal underworld. What a surprise for a 60s villain. It hardly feels ambitious, but there's something about the Goblin already. Here in what? His 4th issue? There's no backstory, no overarching plan. He's just a menace with a big bag full of tricks, yet there is something about him. Despite his comical appearance and overzealous lashes, this isn't another Stiltman or the Enforcers. Something is already screaming at you. Something tells you he's going to be one of Spidey's biggest foes. Anyways, the cops turn up just as GG speeds off and the paper paints him as a hero, raiding the city's various mobsters. Meanwhile, Peter Parker has a major issue. His Spidey suit is still wet. He goes to visit Betty. She's not at her desk. Oh, who's this? Mail from Ned Leeds.
Oh my god, that's like the 60s version of finding a text from an ex.
Well, before Pete can delete the letter, he notices Jameson talking to someone, Foswell, previously known as the Big Man. He's been released from jail and JJJ is hiring him back.
616 Justice at it again. In one day out the next.
That's it. But what's this? Foswell is on an arc of redemption and used his old underworld contacts to lay his hand on Lucky Lobo's financial details. Meanwhile, Spidey tracks the Green Goblin to Lobo's headquarters, hoping the two take each other out. Well, he's almost right because Spider-Man takes out all the goons, even while taking a break to talk to the evil Overlord May. But Spider-Man realizes that the Goblin was only using him to take out the competition, so finds him and is all like, "Hey, I ain't no hammer and nail. I'm no tool for you to just use me as you will. You didn't even get me a Valentine's Day card." And the Goblin is all like, "Well, you're such a needy biatch. I get dressed up and put on my fake eyelashes and you can't even give me a compliment. Just attack, attack, attack. I'm out of here." So the Goblin's out, only to find that all of Lobo's gangs were captured, so there's no manpower for him to take over the gang. He argues that he's no better off than he was, but I mean, hey, eyelashes, am I right? I guess that's to make up for the fact that we still never get to see his face or the man behind the mask. And we end with Pete, still suspicious of Foswell and still suspicious of Betty, who didn't tell him about Ned Leeds' letter. So to finish it off, for once, Pete just sits there and thinks how sucky his life is.
His life is sucky.
Now you're getting it. Who will rule New York's underworld? And in issue 28 of The Amazing Spider-Man, Peter Parker achieves an important milestone. The Green Goblin is back again, still trying to control the underworld. At the most appearances now for any Spidey villain, has he overstayed his welcome? Let's find out. But first, evil Overlord May has stolen Pete's Spidey costume, all part of her sinister plan, no doubt.
Dude, give it up.
Not until her evil plans have been thwarted. She may be the OG villain, but in this issue, we have the GG villain. The Green Goblin is back and he's talking to somebody called the Crime Master. No prizes for guessing what his occupation is.
Is he a farmer? I bet he's a farmer.
Anyway, he and the Green Goblin both know each other's secret identity, so there's an uneasy truce there. Well, the Crime Master is ambitious, and he throws bombs, and he threatens people. Meanwhile, Foswell is getting ready for work at the Bugle, and is thinking about the dangerous game he's playing. Is he the Crime Master? Who knows?
Well, duh. That's what it's referring to.
I mean, well, last time he called himself the Big Man, so the obvious and unimaginative name is kind of his thing. But we cut to Pete, who catches up with Betty, and man, she is pissed. Like, look at that face. And Pete says this. Pete, Not me. I don't want any women's jumping on here all about the sexism and stuff.
Ha! Too funny. We both know there's no women watching this.
Prove me wrong. Somebody out there, prove me wrong. Anyway, Pete's out to prove Flash and his gang wrong. After having enough of their crap, Pete launches into them, but suddenly realizes that he can't thrash the living bejesus out of them because he'll give away his secret identity. And Liz turns up and is all like, ugh, boys, you both suck. I'm out of here. But they've got a bigger problem because the principal saw the whole thing and now they're in trouble. But the thing about Pete is, he's Pete and guilty over his actions. He takes full responsibility for it, and even Flash, overhearing the conversation, is like, holy crap, dude's a legend. And us readers are all like, duh. And you know what? To Flash's credit, he goes in and tells the whole truth to the principal. Because good deeds can breed good deeds, people, and sometimes hearts and minds can change, and you don't always need to wear a cape to prove that. Elsewhere, the Crime Master is up to his shenanigans again, and later, Pete wanders past the costume shop, and guess what? Old Spidey is now so popular you can buy a suit, which he does, though he has to web it to hold it in at some places.
Hope he won't need the bathroom.
Ew. Me too. But he's spying on Foswell's apartment and enters slowly just as the Crime Master turns up.
No way. I thought Foswell was a red herring.
Bang! The Crime Master shoots, Spidey dodges and flees out the window. Crime Master chases him to the rooftop. Twice more. The Crime Master fires. Spidey continues to dodge and evades the shots until his opponent is out of ammo. Knowing this, he jumps in on the Crime Master, but oh no, old CM releases some gas and groggy, Spider-Man falls back, his villainous enemy knocking him off the roof. Fortunately, Spidey has enough webbing to sling to safety. He returns to Foswell's place, only to find a map and location marked on the waterfront. He goes to check out the location, but the Crime Master has just had another uneasy meeting with the Green Goblin, and instead, Spidey runs into Meanie Greenie. Surprise, the Goblin hits him point blank with a pumpkin bomb, knocking Spidey out. Goblin tries to unmask him, but he can't. The webbing Pete used to hold down his suit is too strong, and the Goblin doesn't have time to stick around. At the meeting at the waterfront, the Crime Master announces he is the ultimate crime boss. The Green Goblin turns up, carrying an unconscious Spider-Man under his arms. To be continued. We start where the last issue left off, and well, I mean, I thought this was a kid's show. The Goblin has knocked out poor Spidey and showing him off to all his friends like it's kindergarten show and tell time. And the Crime Master is like, hey, not cool. Didn't you see the no goblins allowed outside? And the Goblin is like, I can't read anything through my thick eyelashes. And yes, seriously, I know that joke's overplayed, but I'm really waiting for the issue when the Goblin finally doesn't have eyelashes.
Guess you could say you'll keep an eye on it.
Ush. You've been hanging around me too long, girl. But the mobsters have already chosen. They want the Green Goblin as their new boss. To celebrate, they're gonna kill Spider-Man, ain't they? But one of the mobsters, some dude with one eye called Patch, not Wolverine, isn't too thrilled about it. Lucky, Spidey is waking up just in time, and although still chained, leaps into action like a possessed pogo stick. Just as he's getting swamped by goons, the police rush in. Someone's tipped them off. They wreak havoc, and Spidey is free to break his chains. The Goblin fires at him, the Crime Master fires at him, the goons are fighting the police, Spidey is fighting the goons. It's absolute mayhem. Eventually, outmatched, the goons give it up, and the Goblin and the Crime Master escape. Later, Spidey follows up on his Foswell suspicion with Jameson, and Foswell arrives shortly after, whereas across the street, the Crime Master aims his gun through the window at them. But the police interfere, and they shoot. The Crime Master reels against the roof parapet. He knows the Goblin's secret identity, but he passes before it can breach his lips.
So Foswell isn't the Crime Master?
Nah, of course not. He was merely an informant that acted as bait to lure out the Crime Master. He was the one-eyed man all along. Elsewhere, across town, the Goblin plans to lay low for a while before seeking his revenge against his greatest enemy, Spider-Man. One of the most anticipated and copied stories of all time, the Green Goblin history and reveal all starts here, but it takes a few issues to get there. Let's go over them. Issue 37. Now, Attack of Killer Robot issues never really entertain me as they all seem to follow the same game plan, i.e. the robot's invincible until you find that fatal flaw, pull a loose wire or upload a virus or whatever, and done's done. So my expectation was low going into this issue, but as always with these early issues, I was pleasantly surprised.
Live in ever, teach you to forever.
My God, I hate you. Anyways, some bloke by the name of Professor Mendel Strom is getting out of jail. Now, here's all you need to know. Professor Strom worked with someone, I don't know who, maybe some random guy. Let's call him Orman Osborn for short, and he was betrayed by said partner, went to jail, was cellmates with Frederick Foswell, and has been plotting revenge for like the last 10 years he was in there.
Man likes to hold a grudge.
Sure does. Now Foswell hears he's getting out, and the reporter in him is like, there could be a story here. Pete overhears this at the Bugle and puts him on a watch list, noting that Jameson has yet another new secretary. Later at college, Pete catches up with Gwen. Gwen fires a shot by asking Pete if he's slamming it coming down to her level. Pete fires back. They trade barbs. Pete even gives the "you're gorgeous when you're angry."
Oh, I see.
What?
They're yelling at each other.
So?
Please, that's the first sign they're going to hook up. Don't you watch any teen dramas?
It's the 60s. They don't just hook up. There's like a whole courting thing that they have to do. Go roller skating, drink milkshakes out of the same glass with 2 different straws. Look, it's complicated, right? But before the hormones can even take over, Flash interrupts. Later, Spider-Man's out swinging and overcomes a commotion. Some alien blob thing has attacked a building, and after a brief fight, almost shows our Spidey up, but our kid is smart, figures out that it is actually a robot and rolls towards the flames to make it loosen itself up. As the police and fireys show up, the owner of the building, Norman Osborn, converses with his son Harry. It was Harry's dad who betrayed Strom and had him put in jail, and he knows it is he who sent the robot. One robot down, doesn't bother Strom. He already has his second one planned. It looks like a cheap version of that Asgardian robot thing, then what is that destroyer thing, because it has a face blast, but Spider-Man has already checked in with Foswell and knows where the professor is hiding out, and he places a spider tracer on the new robot. He follows it to Norman Osborn's office. Norman dodges surprisingly well for a mere human, but Spidey is here to rescue. The robot shoots, Spidey dodges. He hurls some machine at it, the robot blocks, firing back. Spidey dodges again, and while his back is turned, Norman Osborn, the man who he is trying to protect, clocks him one in the back.
What? What a jerk. This makes no sense.
Norman escapes. Spidey chases the robot back to Strom, giving it a heave-ho like Hulk did to Loki in that one movie. Strom picks up the broken robot head to use it as a laser beam, and we cut to a different angle. A rifle pointing through the window, aimed at Strom. Spider-Man pushes the professor out of the way and climbs up the window, but despite it being several stories high, there is no sign of the perp, no ladder or anything to say how he got that high. Back on the ground, Strom has had a heart attack and died, supposedly. The only final tidbit worth noting is that Norman Osborn later, after running into Jameson at some fancy-schmancy club, he returns home, wiping down his rifle. Spider-Man almost ruined his intervention. He must be disposed of. Issue 39 and 40 double issues. Someone out there is going to hate me for combining these and running through them so quickly, but I think it calls for it. These issues are important for 2 reasons. First, it introduces us to the art style of John Romita Sr., but it also one of the most famous early storylines for the Green Goblin, so much that it was replayed out in both cartoon and movie forms. We start with the Green Goblin training and testing his weaponry, and despite the new artist, still has eyelashes and was still hiding his face. Meanwhile, Pete's gone to the doctor. He's got a cold, but the doctor tells him that he's still worried about evil Overlord May's recovery and that under no circumstances Should she be shocked or excited in any way? So this absolutely is setting up what you think it is. Pete goes to college, the gang's all there, but we see a scene between Harry Osborn and his dad, and old Normie Osborn doesn't seem too impressed by his son. It gets Harry down, and Pete asks him what's wrong, and is all like, "Oh, so your dad doesn't like you? Well, guess what? My dad's dead. I'm an orphan, and then they got me a replacement dad, and I got him shot by a burglar." And Harry's like, yeah, alright, fair point. Insert a quick scene. The goons are still trying to kill Spidey because Norman Osborn put a hit out on him. All the while, the Green Goblin is watching, and he drops some gas over the fight that apparently does nothing in the moment. But we know that it did work, for GG's following, noting that he no longer triggers Spider-Man's spider sense. You know what? This kind of bugs me. The same as Craven's jungle juju. Number one, how do the villains know he has a spider sense? It's not like he goes around telling people about it. And number two, how do they even concoct such a serum? And three, why do they never use it again if it's so successful? And four, why do no villains currently just have that in their repertoire against Spider-Man?
Got it out of your system?
I guess so, but probably not. Next, Pete catches up with Ned and apologises for his reaction the other day, but on his way home he gets accosted by the Green Goblin, who has been following him all day. And he knows Pete's secret. He is Spider-Man. GG smogs up Pete, forcing him to fight back in his civvies, but the Goblin was training for this, and having Pete on the back foot, presses with all his tricks in the book. Razor bat, zappity zap, pumpkin bomb, then smoke to knock him out. Pete gets tied up, and when he awakes, he's at the mercy of the Green Goblin. And as we finish the issue to go to the next one, this is when the story really starts to lose its credibility. The Green Goblin has Spider-Man tied up in his lab, and instead of, putting a pumpkin bomb in his mouth and saying sayonara, he's not only going to kill him, but reveals his own identity to him, because it doesn't matter because Spider-Man will be dead soon anyway. Blah. It's one of those cliches for the time that just does not sit well with today's storytelling. Whether it did work back then, I'm not really sure, but it is sort of a cheap trick to get to the next stage. But Pete's like, "Hey, you have the same ginger nut cornrows that aren't cornrows," and Norman's like, "Wah, Harry, nah, I don't care." But it's the first sign that there's a conflict within Norman himself, the first implication of maybe an alter ego. So Normie's like, "Don't you dare say his name," and Pete's like, "Yeah, there's this guy at college. His name's Harry Osborn. He's your son." Another trope, keeping the villain talking so to stall for time goes directly into another. Norman gives the history of how he became the Green Goblin. A typical businessman with no time for his son, stole Mendelstrom's research and put him in jail, created the serum himself. It exploded on him because it's the 60s. They never ever got to test the serums on themselves back then because everything exploded in their face beforehand. And then he goes back to crazy pants and became the Green Goblin. Oh, and evil Overlord May is now worried because Pete hasn't come home. Remember how she can't be shocked or, she will die? Well, all Pete can think about is what will happen when his identity is revealed. All this time, Pete's been rubbing his wrists to escape the rope that bound him. And hey, just as GG finishes his story time and is going to find a way to dramatically kill him, he jumps out of his seat and is like, "Yeah, Spidey time, biatches." The Goblin is like, "Pumpkin bomb." Spidey's like, "Web net lock." GG is like, "Laser finger blast." Spidey is like, "Dodge roll." Goblin is like, "Afterburner." Spidey is like, "Wah." The fight continues, but this time Spider-Man was ready, spider sense or no. Though the Goblin pulls out all his bag of tricks, this time there's no match. Fight ends with Spider-Man kicks Granny into his own lab equipment. Norman's getting an electrochemical charge from whatever he was making there, knocking him out and setting the building on fire. Spider-Man pulls him out of the fire, but what's this? Oh wait, is it? Yes it is. It's another BS cliche trope of the time. Old Normie has amnesia and can't even remember anything about the Green Goblin, despite waking up in the Green Goblin costume. Finally, after everything, Pete makes it home. Oh no, the doctor is there. Aunt May had a spell because she was so shocked about Peter's whereabouts. Geez, Pete, how could you be so inconsiderate? As I said, this is quite an important arc for Spider-Man. It's a classic tale retold in movie and cartoon format, and while the underlying story holds up, I just feel that I don't know, that the execution doesn't quite hold up as well. My first issue is with the Norman reveal. Having only just been introduced, his reveal as the Green Goblin doesn't really have much weight. The secret of the Green Goblin mystery ID was such a fun and slow burn. I would have liked to see Norman introduced as Harry's dad and have a little bit more of a relationship with Peter as it does in the movie. Without that relationship, it kind of takes the oomph out of the big reveal. As an audience, we don't care it's Norman Osborn. I mean, who is that guy anyway? I mean, we all know him because we all know the story, but my second issue is obviously with some of the heavy-handed comic book tropes of the era, and as I said to death in these read-throughs, coming from a modern perspective, they are really on the nose. Things like Pete keeping Norman talking while he unveils his plan and history, not killing Spider-Man right away so he can make it dramatic, Norman being the first to discover Pete ID but then losing his memory, thereby reducing any consequences, is considered cheesy for a reason. It reduced the impact of the story and it takes all the wind out of the hero's victory. I really enjoyed Romita's artwork and the fight scenes with the Goblin. I think where Romita shines for me though was in the coloring. The Goblin feels menacing, a little bit more goblin-y in a comic book type of way, but in a good way if that makes sense. But as a downside, he does feel a little less menacing and conniving despite the first sign of Norman being crazy pants with an alternate persona. Hey, thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this approach, please like and subscribe for more videos. And remember, if you're interested in reading the full story, the easiest way is to sign up to Marvel Unlimited at marvel.com/unlimited. I need to breathe.